How connected to nature does a humanist feel? It often comes as a surprise just how much we care for it, and the reasoning is different for everyone. But this is mine. And welcome to another Ramblings of a Humanist. Here is where you get an insight into the mind of a humanist, and this is just one perspective of many out there, by the way, and take it or leave it, or argue against me, and in fact, I encourage it. I'll see you in the comments if you do. So, let me start with the setup. A friend came around the other day, a lovely person, a deep thinker in many ways. Different ways from me, which I really appreciate, and they're very into what I would call Western spirituality, although doing a lot of questioning of it in his own way. Anyway, at some point, as we're talking away, we start talking about our connection to nature. Connection to the trees, to the energy, the souls, the animals, the whole thing. And I said, the way I look at the world, I'd argue, is more connected to nature than how you look at it. And they were naturally taken aback, because I'm the humanist. I'm the one who's supposed to have stripped back all the magic out of everything, right? I'm the cold rationalist who looks at the sunset and sees nothing more than electromagnetic radiation hitting some cones in the back of my eyes, right? But I meant it, and I'm going to explain my logic, because humanism has more connection to the natural world than many would think. The pedestal problem. Here's the thing I said to my friend that I want to unpack. I said, your version of connected to nature, it's beautiful, but it's got humans on a pedestal. Well, at least the human soul. You feel connected to the trees, but you're still standing above them. The trees are there making you feel something. Nature is the backdrop for your spiritual experience. Your soul is the thing that persists according to you because you believe you matter enough for it to persist, even after everything's gone or even after you have gone. And I get why that's appealing, but notice what's actually happening there. Sure, it's a connection, much like an audience and a stage is a connection. You're the audience, nature's the stage, and you're watching, but you're not actually part of the play. The soul in this instance supposedly leaves the theatre when the curtains call, and what has a soul anyway? Like, we've got a lot of lists on them, and sometimes they include animals, but I think for most of the time that when we're talking about the soul in this instance, we're talking about the human soul. And so to me, it's human-centeredness wearing earthy clothes. And I know, there's many versions out there of this and that, and some are gonna argue against, that we are all connected no matter what you say, and the universe of one and nothingness and all that sort of stuff. But that's not the point. I'm not here to talk about those points. My point is, and it's not poetic, it's literal. I share about 60% of my DNA with a banana. 60%. I'm not being cute. The genes that build a banana and the genes that build me are, more than half the time, the same instructions. I'm oversimplifying it, of course, but it's the general gist I'm getting at. I share common ancestry with that tree in my backyard, not metaphorically, not we're all stardust, man. I mean, there is an actual traceable causal line of descent connecting the cells in my body to the cells in the tree. We diverged a very long time ago. But we came from the same place, and that's not a feeling, that's history written into my body. The mitochondria, the little power plants inside of every one of my cells, those used to be free-living bacteria about 2 billion years ago. And then one of my single-celled ancestors absorbed one and just never let it go. I am, right now, a partnership between two different forms of life that decided to stick together before there were even animals. So, when I say I'm connected to nature, I don't mean I feel connected, I mean I am connected. Structurally, materially, the connection isn't something I reach for in a quiet moment, it's the thing I'm made of. And that, to me, is a far deeper connection than I feel at one with the forest, because it doesn't need me to feel anything, it's just true. And I know a lot of people are going to argue against me against that, and I encourage them to. I enjoy the different views, honestly, but that's my view. Above nature or a part of it? Okay, but I can already hear the obvious objection. It's the name, humanism. The clue's right there in the name, in the word. Whatever I say about bananas or the trees, the whole thing still puts the human at the center, above everything else, looking down, right? And look, maybe that's what it was once upon a time. There's a version of humanism in the past that really did mean human superiority, man at the top of the ladder, master of nature, the point the whole thing was building toward. I'm not going to pretend the strand never existed, but that's not what it means now, and it's not what I mean by it. Here's the distinction that actually matters. Human superiority says we're above nature, separate from it, risen out of it. Nature is the stuff down there that we manage, use, and rise above. We're the exception. We're what the world was made for. What I'm talking about says we're part of nature, not above it, but in it. One expression of it among millions, billions even. Human understanding isn't something that lifts us out of the natural world. It's one of the things the natural world happens to do through us. And that's not me being humble for the sake of it. It's just accurate. You can't think a thought that isn't a human thought. You can't value anything except from a position capable of valuing. So yes, humanism looks at the world from the human point of view, but there's a world of difference between this is the vantage point I happen to have and this is the vantage point everything else should bow down to. One is a window, the other is a throne. I'm interested in the window. I think most humanists are today. We're not the master of the house looking down on the garden. We're a part of the garden that grew the eyes. So drop the throne, keep the window, and look at what's actually out there. The real magic. Now, this is the bit where people expect me to be the killjoy. The spiritual stuff has the magic, and here comes the humanist to explain it all away with his cold hard facts. Wonder meets spreadsheet. But I see it the other way round. And for me, the science is the magic. Not magic as in the supernatural stuff. Magic as in, are you kidding me? That's how it works? The wonder doesn't survive despite the explanation. The explanation is where the wonder lives. Take the tree in my backyard, for instance. The spiritual reading is that there's an energy to it, a presence, something you feel. But here's what's actually going on, and tell me it's less astonishing. That tree is right now pulling carbon dioxide out of the air and water from the soil and building itself out of sunlight. It is eating light. The wood, the bark, the leaves, the mass came largely out of thin air, assembled by a molecular machine so precise we still can't fully copy it. And the oxygen coming off it as a byproduct is the same oxygen filling my lungs as I stand here talking to you. We are the tree and I in a slow continuous exchange of literal stuff of life. It breathes out, I breathe in. I breathe out, it breathes in. That's not a metaphor for connection, that is connection, happening every single day, whether anyone feels anything about it or not. And the more I understand about it, the more it does to me. This is the bit that sounds silly, and I'm going to say it anyway. Knowing that I'm a part of nature and not above it, it doesn't make me feel small or mechanical or disenchanted. It makes me appreciate it more. And in a strange way, it lets me empathize with it. Because once you really take it on board that the tree and I are running variations of the same 4 billion year old process that we're built from, the same molecular toolkit that we are, in the most literal sense, distant relatives, you stop looking at the rest of the living world as a scenery, as a backdrop, as resources, and you start looking at it as, here's the silly bit, as kin. Doing its thing, solving the same problem I'm solving. How to keep going, how to grow, how to make more of itself, just with different tools and a few billion years of separate practice. I look at a struggling plant or an animal having a hard time and there's a flicker of recognition that isn't sentimental, because what can go through my mind is that's family, having a hard time. I empathize with how it would be to be in that position. It's silly, I know, but that's what you can get when you look at it from a different point of view. And the person who thinks they're above nature doesn't get that. They can't really. If you're the master and it's the garden is for you. But if you're a part of it, if you came out of the same ground, then everything else alive isn't beneath you, it's alongside you. And you can feel with it. because you came from the same place it did. So no, the science didn't take away the magic. It told me the tree and I are family, breathing into each other, made of the same stuff, running the same ancient program. My friend reaches outward looking for the magic that I'd argue isn't there to make it feel more meaningful. I don't need to look for anything extra, I just need to understand what's already there, and what's already there is wilder than anything I could have come up with anyway. So, what's it all for? So let me build on that, because the obvious question is, okay fine, what does any of this actually mean for how I live? It's a nice way to see a tree, so what? Here's where humanism kicks into the next gear for me. And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest environmentalist, that's fair to say. I'm not going to chain myself to anything, and I'm not going to stand here pretending I'm something I'm not. But when I sit in nature, when I read a headline, when I see animals in what's left of their habitats, something lands differently, because if I'm not above it, if I'm a part of it, then the question stops being what can I take from this and starts being how can I help it? How can the part, me, help the whole? I'm not over the top about it, sure, but I am trying to work toward what I can do. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe I've got a soul that exits stage left, out the door, down the alleyway, onto the next act and leaves this theatre behind. When the curtain falls, this is it. This is the one. I'm in this scene, on this stage, just trying to put on a good show and simultaneously enjoy the show that's being had. And while I'm trying to do all that, I'm also trying to do my bit to clean up some of the popcorn that's been trodden into this damn sticky popcorn-ridden floor. Because when I leave, even if no one remembers me, although I sure hope my kids remember me, I'd rather leave a better theatre than the one I walked into. And that's not just for my kids, but to come full circle, it's because I'm a part of the whole darn thing. And that has a meaning to me. Maybe not to you. And that's genuinely fine. I'm not here to hand you a meaning. But it means something to me. That's the whole thing, really. I don't get a sequel, so the only place any of it can be better is here. And the only time is now, and the only hands available are the ones attached to people who actually give a damn. Are you one of the ones that gives a damn? If I can do my little bit, my small, unglamorous, not over the top little bit, then maybe that's a start to being enough. That's where my head's at this week. Tell me I'm wrong, genuinely get into it down below, I'll see you in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you next time, humies.